Hello everyone, welcome back to my table and welcome to the fourth episode of Essence and Encounters. This is where we look through the 2024 Monster Manual, look at the creatures inside, their history, and how to run them. And you know what time it is. Furry. Play the intro. This is the closest thing I have to a fursuit, so don't judge me. Now today we're talking about pages 14 and 15 of the Monster Manual, the Animal Lord. This Animal Lord is the first new creature in the 2024 Monster Manual, and are some pretty powerful creatures. The Animal Lords are immortal spirits that are divine protectors of their chosen persona. They can be almost any animal and only end up in the material plane if their species is in danger, such as a natural disaster or too many of their kind being hunted. Now, these animal lords can look extremely varied. For example, let's take a cat lord. A cat lord can look like many things, just a normal cat with glowing eyes, looking kind of like a humanoid cat, like a tabaxi, or one of those cats from the Cats movie with glowing eyes as well. Or they can look like a normal humanoid with animal-like features like whiskers or claws. They also can turn into huge versions of their animal, making it a real threat. There are three types of animal lords, and there is much variety within these three types. They can be either a forager, a hunter, or a sage, each one having its own special abilities and unique look. Examples for each one for a forager would be like a deer, a bee, or a vulture. A hunter could be a cat, wolf, or shark, and a sage could be a crow, owl, or even a spider. You can choose which type your party will face beforehand, and make sure you know which category they are in. It is important, it will be on the test. They also tend to stay in the Beastlands, that being their home, and will travel to other idyllic realms such as the Feywild. So having them show up in the Feywild, or after a disaster in the campaign, to have them interact with your party, even before they are ready to fight them, and ooh boy, do you not want to face these claws. We'll move on to the stat block, and with that transition. Now, I'm going to state this beforehand. This is the strongest monster we have covered thus far. It's a CR 20, and I repeat, a CR 20. Meaning that they will be going up against at least 4 level 20 adventurers normally. And that is a medium encounter difficulty. You may want to be careful before you send your party to a furry convention, because it's going to be rough. Now onto the stat block. The Animal Lord is a medium celestial of neutral alignment. It also makes sense that they are of neutral alignment because they're meant to protect things, and it's very vague to protect things whether you're good or evil. They have a 19 AC, a whopping 323 hit points. Beefy boys! A walking, swimming, hover, and flying speed of 60 feet, and they have a plus 19 to initiative. Have fun trying to get the jump on them. Their stats are far from something to sneeze at, with a 24 in strength, a 25 in dexterity, a 20 in constitution, a 19 in intelligence, a wisdom of 23, and a charisma of 22. They have a plus 13 to acrobatics, athletics, and stealth, and a plus 18 to perception. They have the resistance to cold, fire, necrotic, psychic, and are immune to being charmed, frightened, stunned, and they have true sight out to 120 feet. They also have a passive perception of 28, so unless you have expertise, sneaking up on them is not going to go well for you. It's like trying to use spray deodorant on a stinky fursuit. It's not going to go well. Note, furries, I love you. These are just jokes. Please do not pipe bomb my mailbox. I am being serious. They can speak all languages and are once again CR 20. Next, they have Animal Lordship, which dictates which lord they are between a forager, hunter, and a sage. This gives us 3 stat blocks in one, because you can have 3 different things on the stat block depending on the kind of sage they are. They get legendary resistance as well, gaining 4 of them. They can gain lordly presence, which is basically just a 30-foot aura around themselves. Any enemy of the lord who starts their turn in that presence must make a DC 20 wisdom saving throw, and on a fail to get afflicted by a specific effect depending on what kind of lord they are. A forager makes it so that the person is both charmed and incapacitated until the end of its next turn. For a hunter, they gain the frightened condition until the end of the next turn, and the Sage causes the person to take 3d6 psychic damage and becomes magically bewildered, causing them to take a 1d4 detriment to their saving throws. They also have magical resistance, meaning that they have advantage on saving throws against spells and magical effects. We then move on to its actions, and it has a bunch of them, starting with the multi-attack. It can make 2 attacks on its turn, using Rend and Radiant Ray in any combination. It can also use Animal Spirit. Firstly, Rend is a melee attack, having a plus 13 to hit and a range of 5 feet, dealing 2d6 plus 7 slashing damage plus 2d6 force damage, doing a minimum of 11 damage per hit and a maximum of 31 damage on a hit. Radiant Ray is their ranged attack, having a plus 12 to hit and a range of 120 feet, dealing 4d6 plus 6 radiant damage. Next we have Animal Spirit, which basically is throwing one of their animal companions at you. It's actually just summons it to attack you, but it's funnier to think about it just yeeting itself at you. The target must make a dexterity saving throw, and on a failed, they take 4d10 plus 6 radiant damage, taking half as much on a success. However, on a failure or success, another effect goes off, depending on the type of lord. For Fortiger, they get Fortify, which gives them 20 temporary hit points. Oh boy, doing that every turn, they're gonna get so many hit points. Hunter gets Marked as Prey, which allows them to have advantage to hit the target of the animal that got yeeted at until the start of the lord's next turn. Lastly, for the Sage, they have Pesky Swarm, which makes the target have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the lord's next turn. Man, Sage is strong. They also have Spellcasting, because why not? Their spell save DC is 20, and they use Wisdom as their spellcasting stat. They can cast Animal Friendship, Animal Messenger, and speak with animals at will, and can cast Awaken and Greater Restoration twice a day. That's 2 uses of 5th level spells. That's nothing to paw at, I mean sneeze at. Then the Sage version has 2 more spells. Man, Sage is strong. They get once a day casting with either Animal Shapes or Sunburst. Both are 8th level spells. Animal Shapes can make 4 creatures of their choice into CR4 animals, turning cats that you were fighting beforehand into CR4 elephants. Yes, this is a concentration spell, but still insanely strong and can really turn the fight in the Lord's favor. That's not even taking into consideration of Sunburst, which does 12d6 radiant damage to all creatures of its choice within a 60-foot radius, and then blinds them all if they fail a saving throw. That's some terrifying spells, and it makes sense that these guys are CR20. Next is their bonus actions, and they only have one, that being Shapeshift. This allows them to, as a bonus action, become a huge or smaller version of the animal type that they are. All of its other statistics stay the same, such as its hit points and AC, but its size just changes. Lastly, we have the legendary actions, and they have 3 of them. For those who don't know what legendary actions are, they're actions that can be done out of initiative order, meaning that the Animal Lord can use a legendary action after or before its turn happens, even if it's not on their turn. So if the Animal Lord went first, which is likely, and then the Warlock goes next, before or after the Warlock's turn, they can use their legendary action, and they can do that 3 times per turn. 2 legendary actions that they have are not bad either. The first one, called Feral Strike, or which I just like to call Zoomy Strike, it allows the Lord to move its movement without provoking opportunity attacks, and then make a rend attack at a target within range. Movement and an attack in one move, that's strong. Then there is Radiant Strike, which allows the Animal Lord to make a Radiant Strike attack, which isn't bad either. Now that we've gone through the stat block, we can now go on to an encounter for these creatures. This is going to be for a high level party, a party of 5 level 17 adventurers, and we'll be going with the Sage Animal Lord to give them some challenge. And of course, we got our main party we've been using thus far, that being the Warlock, Fighter, Cleric, Wizard, and Monk. A natural disaster just took place, a fire caused by the fight between the dueling Master Tempest and the party. This caused a large forest fire that was not able to be contained in time, allowing the flames to come to an end naturally over the course of a few days, burning down miles upon miles of woodland. Many animals suffered, but it was for the good of the realm, as the Tempest planned to burn, freeze, and shock the world into his own image. This, however, was unknown to Sage Clawthorn, an owl animal lord. She made her way from the Beastlands, as a large swift of an endangered owl species died in the Inferno. Through its magical process, it came to the center of the Inferno, and used some of its owls to contact the people who were at the center of the Inferno when it started. One owl stayed there with a pile of ash and bones, Clawthorn knowing that one of the parties had died. An owl will request the party's presence at the center of the Inferno's pain, and the owl will lead them to Clawthorn. As they approached, they saw below the sage, grass began to grow again, and flowers returned to bloom under this large owl humanoid. They also saw that they have about half a dozen of owls with them, sitting on burned logs or far behind her. She will ask the party for their story, and they will have to roll a persuasion check to tell her that all of this was justified, or if it was the Tempest's fault. On the pass, they can avoid combat and possibly help Clawthorn on her journey to fixing the forest and rehousing the owls. On a fail, she will not believe the party, believing this all could have been avoided if they had just been more careful. She, however, will test them in battle to see if their claims have merit. This battle map was made by Aram Beauty on Reddit, and we shall roll initiative. Clawthorn will go first taking action to cast animal shapes, but the wizard will use its reaction to cast counterspell at 5th level. They rolled 17 on the spell save, making it fail, and the animal lord spell goes through. They turn their owls into elephants, so they have a chance against the party. She will then make the cleric make a dexterity save against its animal spirit, which it passes, just by the skin of his teeth. Then she uses a bonus action to become a huge version of her animal, and it becomes the monk's turn, and if he first makes a save against the Lord's lordly presence before passing its saving throw, and he will run up and attempt a stunning strike. Clawthorn fails her save with a roll of 2, and she will burn one of her legendary resistances. The monk will then make a second attack, and then use his bonus action for Fury of Blows for 3 extra attacks, dealing a good chunk of damage. Then the owls, now elephants, will take their turns, dealing a good attack on the wizard and a miss on the fighter and the monk. Then the wizard's turn, which will use the spell Time Stop, the wizard's new 9th level spell. When the wizard does so, they make their way off to the side of the battlefield, giving them a much better position. They rolled a 3, so they get 4 turns to do what they need to. They will end the spell by casting Dispel Magic, and passing his roll with a 22 on a DC 18 check. Doing so, it ends the effect of animal shape on the closest owl to its allies, giving them a small advantage. The Warlock will go next, and use its Mystical Arcanum feature to cast its own 9th level spell, that being Weird. They choose for the elephants, owls, and Clawthorn to be affected, and will place the center point right to his right. Clawthorn will pass her wisdom saving throw, but the owls and elephants will fail. His roll will deal 10d10 damage, in the roll of a total of 82. Clawthorn will take half, but her owls and elephants will disappear from the battlefield, returning to the Beastlands from whence they originally were summoned from. Now with the battlefield on a little bit more of a level playing field, the fighter will go next. But before he does, Clawthorn will use one of its legendary actions to do a Feral Strike, dealing a rend attack and moving without provoking opportunity attacks. The fighter chases and he will attack 3 times, critting on one of them, before action surging and attacking again. And he will get another critical hit thanks to his Champion Fighter feature. After his turn, Clawthorn will then use a legendary action, this time a Radiant Strike upon the Warlock, who fails his concentration check, causing the Weird to drop. Next is a Cleric who will approach, and as he approaches, he contemplates using the spell he used on the Tempest that caused the forest fire, Firestorm, but out of guilt he refuses, and will instead use Harm instead. It fails its saving throw, and uses the second to last legendary resistance, but still taking a hefty amount of necrotic damage, even though it's resistant. Now that's all I'm going to cover today, because I do not wish to play out a full combat for you, since this is just an example. But what will the party do? Will the cleric confess to his accidental crimes? Will they beat her and pass her test, or will they fail her challenge? This is up for fate to decide. Before we get into the final part you have been waiting for, I'd like to thank my Patreons, Circuitry News, Nix Hunter, Vixenville, and Weeb Person. And also I'd like to thank Bushi Arts for these new stills that they did an amazing job on. Thank you so much, Bushi. Their link is in the description. Now for the winner of the giveaway. This is for the 2024 Monster Manual, and the winner is this commenter right here. Congratulations! I have not rolled on the wheel yet, so I do not know who this is. But I will find out, and you will get your book. I promise. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, favorite, and or subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. I'm taking off these stupid fucking cat ears. Support your local game shops, enjoy your adventures, and roll safely. Safe travels!